language in honor of all our Iranian guests and friends and our honorees this evening was that we are Ruth Flinkman Morandi and ben-gurion Morandi. And we are very honored to be co-chair of this evening's wonderful event. And we thank you on behalf of the American Associates of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev for coming to help us honor Nahid and Mansour Parsi and Judge Leon Kaplan for their dedication, generosity, and support of Ben-Gurion University and the most important work and research that is carried on there, of which you will hear later. And I'd like to just welcome some dignitaries with us this evening. We have with us Lieutenant General Danny Halutz, former Chief of Staff of the IDF and head of the IAF. Professor Rivka Carmi, President of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. Rabbi David and Mrs. Pauline Shofet of Nessa Synagogue. Rabbi David Wolpe, Chief Rabbi of Sinai Temple. New Israeli Consul General David Siegel and Mrs. Siegel, welcome. We have Deputy Consul General for Israel Gil and Mrs. Viviana Artziel, Yelly. Former Mayor and Mrs. Jimmy and Lonnie Delshad. Ambassador Mariano Castello, the ambassador for Honduras to Mexico. President of the American Iranian Jewish Federation, Mrs. Shala Javdan. Doron Krakow, Executive Vice President of the American Associates, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. And of course, our honorees this evening. And I would like to thank those of you who came from near and far. We have people from New York and from Florida. We have people from San Diego, from near and far, and so we thank you all for coming. And Montreal. At this time, I'd like to call on Noah Dori, an international singer and actress, to lead us in the national anthems.
For the American anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the palace streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you very much.
I would like to call on Israel Consul General David Siegel to bring us a message from Israel. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. Mr. Siegel graduated from the University of Vermont with a BA in political science and earned a master's degree in international relations from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy in Boston. He served as a commander in the Israel Defense Forces and has had a distinguished career in Israel policy making and security strategies. Please help me welcome Consul General of Israel, Mr. David Siegel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here tonight. I've been doing this a lot lately, but I do have to apologize for my heavy Israeli accent. But I do assure you I am from Israel. You could ask Gil and my friends over there. It is an honor to be with you here tonight. And toda rabba, thank you very much for your support for a very, very important institution. Thank you, Ruth, for your introduction, and I'd like to thank the American Associates of Ben-Gurion University for organizing this event, and to recognize our esteemed honorees, Nahid and Mansour Parsi, for their commitment, passion, and generosity to fulfilling the vision of developing the Negev, and Judge Leon Kaplan for your outstanding public service in both the United States and Israel. I'm also deeply honored to share this stage with Lieutenant General Dan Halutz, a true Israeli hero, and Professor Rivka Carmi, the first woman elected as president of an Israeli university, a trailblazer in her own right. Years ago, a close friend of mine, who like General Halutz is a combat pilot, shared with me the amazing experience of flying over Israel at night in a fighter aircraft, an F-16, from north to south. And he said some amazing things to me about that flight. First of all, it takes only a few minutes, as you know. It is a small country. And he described the north, coming down from the north to the center, the north being dark, sparsely populated. You really can't see lights from the cockpit. And then you sort of reach the central coastal area, and the intense light of where Israel, the center is, and the lights of the big cities. And then, a few minutes after that, into the Negev, where he sort of described an eerie glow of light in the desert, of Bedouin encampments blanketed by darkness. And this is the story of Israel. It's a tiny country. 60% of the country is Negev. Most of it is empty. Only a very low percentage of our population is there. Is there any wonder that the housing prices in Tel Aviv are so high? To say the Negev is vital for the future of Israel is an understatement, because all of Israel's demographic assets, economic assets, strategic installations are all highly concentrated in a vulnerable, narrow arc between Haifa and Jerusalem. And that is very, very important to change and this is part of the vision of developing the Negev. Ben-Gurion University is central to this vision. It was inspired by Israel's first Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion, and that's a tall order. But true to that calling, Ben-Gurion University has become a major center for academics and research. Its world-famous medical school has become a model for community and global medicine. And most recently, in Haaretz's list of 100 most influential Israelis in impacting Israel's economy, 4 were members of the faculty of the university, 2 of which are leaders consulting the protest movement in Tel Aviv or throughout the country. One is a founder of the first school for technological excellence in the Bedouin sector, and one is a woman who is a co-director of the Center for Entrepreneurial and High-Tech Management. Talk about diversity. This is the story of Israel. You have Jews, Arabs, women, men of all ethnical and religious backgrounds working together to better humanity. But my favorite story, and I'll be very short, but you, I think, will enjoy this, is a latest breakthrough from the university, which has to do with a cure for diabetes. And according to the findings of the university, if one soaks for 20 minutes in the Dead Sea, this can help diabetics very, very significantly to lower their blood sugar levels. Now imagine what that means for those who suffer from the disease, what this might mean for medical tourism to Israel, and what it also will mean for your ability to really enjoy your desserts tonight. We all know Lieutenant General Dan Halutz from his celebrated military career, but you might not know that he is also chairman of Etgarim, Challenges, a nonprofit Israeli organization dedicated to helping people with special needs, regardless of their religious or ethnic background. This is but one example of the social entrepreneur nation, not just the startup nation, but the social entrepreneur nation that is the fabric of the real, exciting, and dynamic Israel that I would like to bring to Los Angeles as the new Consul General here. I have to take a moment just to address some serious issues. Today, we all commemorated the 10th anniversary of the horrendous terror attacks of 9/11, and I participated in several events today, and it was amazing to see the spirit of unity in this country on days like today. And this weekend, the Israeli embassy in Cairo was brutally attacked, and there was literally a door, one door, between a violent mob of thousands and 6 of our young embassy and security staff who were finally rescued after 13 hours of a siege, in great part with the help of the United States of America. So thank you, America, for helping us bring our boys home. But the key here is that despite the challenges that we have, and despite the threats, nothing will stop democracy and human progress as reflected in institutions like Ben-Gurion University. So if you haven't been to Israel, and if you haven't visited the university, I encourage you to do so. And I call on each and every one of you to share with me in telling the real stories of Israel, the Israel that is dynamic, that is rich, that is diverse, that is doing amazing things together with you. And for each and every one of you, no matter who you are, there is a place in Israel. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to call on Rabbi Shofet, Chief Rabbi of the Nessa Synagogue in Beverly Hills, to pray for the victims of the 9/11 attack on the U.S. and to commemorate the 10th anniversary of these attacks. He will also make the motzi. Thank you.
Distinguished honorees, Mr. and Mrs. Mansour and Nahid Parsi, Judge Leon Kaplan, General Dan Halutz, Professor Rivka Carmi, ladies and gentlemen, shalom and good evening. 10 years ago this day, an unspeakable tragedy befell upon the United States. Forces of darkness and evil attacked our great country and its symbols of freedom and democracy. On that day, many innocent souls perished. From September 11, 2001 until this very day, our world has been changed due to those horrific acts. Most of the victims of this tragedy never had a chance to say forward to their loved ones. We will never forget these pure souls, nor we will ever tolerate those behind such evil ideologies who entice man to act against their fellow human beings in such a manner. Now, please rise and let us say a prayer for our fallen loved ones. אבינו שבשמיים, אב הרחמים, שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה במעלת קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים את הנשמות הטהורות של האנשים והנשים והטף, שנאבדו על ידי כוחות הרשע והצלמוות ביום המר והנמהר הזה. בעל הרחמים, יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר אמן. Our Heavenly Father, O God of mercy, grant proper rest and eternal peace to the innocent and pure souls who lost their lives on the 11th of September 2001. May their resting place be in the Garden of Eden. May they repose in peace in their resting places. And let us say Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על נטילת ידיים. הנה כל אליך יסברו ואתה נותן לדחלם ביתו פותח את ידיך ומשביע לכל חי רצון נותן לחם לכל בשר כי טוב כי לעולם חסדו. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאיר אדוני פניו אליך ויונקה, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
Thank you, Rabbi. While the salad's being served, I'd like to call your attention to the screens, the video, for a short video about the university. Thank you.
And we have somebody who embodies that spirit of humane learning, of scientific progress, and also of the Zionist enterprise in Professor Carmi. Professor, doctor, or president, all are equally relevant. I will just tell you that the Talmud also advises that you should only say half of a person's praises in front of them, and only behind their backs should you say everything good you have to say. I'm going to actually say less than half of Professor Carmi's very impressive achievements, because you don't want to hear from me, you want to hear from her. As you heard earlier, she is the first woman to serve as the president of an Israeli university when she became president of Ben-Gurion University in 2006, and then has even exceeded that achievement by becoming the first woman to serve as the chairperson of the Committee of University Presidents in Israel. She's the director of the Genetics Institute, or served as the director of the Genetics Institute at Soroka University Medical Center. Her specialty for many years was working on the manifestations and molecular basis of genetic diseases in the Negev's Arab Bedouin population. She's the author of over 100 publications, has been responsible for major biotechnology innovations and programs in Israel, and she received many, many awards, only one of which I wish to mention because it is extraordinary in the climate of the world for an Israeli professor to win the 2002 Award for Peace from the Canada International Scientific Exchange Program. And all I can say is that when the world recognizes your achievements as an Israeli professor, your achievements must be extraordinary indeed. We are delighted and honored on this evening, and it certainly for me is a great honor to be able to present to you the president of Ben-Gurion University, Professor Rivka Carmi.
Well, thank you very much, Rabbi Wolpe, for your so warm introduction, half of which was not really true. No, I'm kidding. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is a wonderful event, and it is, standing here on the podium, looking at all these marvelous tables surrounded by so many of Ben-Gurion University friends and associates. It is really heartwarming. So thank you very much. And as Rabbi Wolpe said, this is, I would say, one of the most appropriate dates to do it, to show the world and to show the ones that wishing the best for the world in general and for Israel in particular, that life goes on, and not only life goes on, we are going on, achieving, aspiring, and really getting to do things that are not only relevant and important for Israel, but to the whole world at large. It is my sincere pleasure to be here this evening to take part in recognizing the commitment to and support of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev by our special honorees. Nahid and Mansour Parsi. I met Mansour some time ago, and although they are involved with this university for over a decade, from 1998, I was also always so much impressed by their commitment, not only to Israel, but to Zionism in general, and to Ben-Gurion University as a leading power in building the future of Israel. And now, with the creation of the Parsi Family Endowment Foundation, we will be able to really make the leap with very significant and innovative research in Ben-Gurion University. And what's to me is even more important is that the younger generation of the Parsi family is going to be involved with deciding the various subjects on which they would like us to go beyond the research and really determine the future of research in this university. So thank you very, very much, the Parsi family. Thank you. I met with Judge Leon Kaplan only 2 years ago. Was it that, Leon? About 2 years ago. So Leon is a relatively speaking newcomer to the university. And I was very much impressed by his vision based on a lifetime service as a juvenile judge here in this area. And I'll tell you, we were all inspired by the idea of how much parental education is crucial to prevent juvenile delinquency. So we are now embarking on creating an innovating graduate program in parenting studies and parent training. It would be one in a kind in Israel and maybe also in the world. And we are very, very grateful for you for giving us the opportunity to do it in Ben-Gurion University and thus helping the community in the Negev and in the whole state of Israel. Thank you very much. I would like to acknowledge all the dignitaries that are with us today, especially my friend Danny Halutz. Thank you very much for being here today for us, for Ben-Gurion University. You know more than anybody else, flying over the Negev, how crucial, important the Negev is for the future of Israel. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, when David Ben-Gurion first had his first retreat from the government of Israel, he got really tired. Only 5 years after the creation of the country, in 1953, he retired to the Negev, to Sde Boker. And he was doing that because he strongly believed, and this is something he preached all along, he strongly believed that the future of Israel was lying in the desert. And it was 1953 when Israel, as such, was a small, very provincial kind of a country in general, even Tel Aviv at the time. He thought that the Negev was the future of Israel. And he was the one that said that the state of Israel is going to be tested scientifically in the desert. If scientists would be able to conquer the desert, this will be a huge achievement to the country. And in fact, he said, if we won't conquer the desert will take over the land. He was so sure that this is was the place for him, and he was sure that if he'll go to Sde Boker in the Negev, everybody will follow him. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So he considered really this as one of his major failures, to serve as a role model for young people to come to the Negev, because at that time they didn't come. But he had this dream. He had this dream of having Oxford in the Negev. Just imagine, in 1950s, 60s, the worst time of Israel, and David Ben-Gurion was dreaming about having, by the way, also Yavne. Oxford and Yavne as a center of research and arts and humanities, light onto the nations. So in 1970, Ben-Gurion University was created with a governmental mandate, and the mandate was to spearhead the development of the country. And in that regard, this was one of a kind university in the world that was actually founded by governmental mandate to really develop a region of a country. And up until then, today, this university is living to this mission of developing the country. Ben-Gurion University is now, for the fifth year, #1 choice of students for undergraduate studies. They are very, very satisfied with the university, with the ambience on campus, with the social life, but not only with that. Because Ben-Gurion University is not just an institution of higher education. It is an engine to the development of a whole region, and it is very, very unique. It is unique because of its research. And the research at Ben-Gurion University is being driven by need, use-driven. So the university is really identifying what is the need of the region. And at the time, the need of the region was to combat desertification. And this kind of research brought about research of water, all kinds of new water technologies, purifying water, managing water, using brackish water to grow fish. You should see fish growing in the desert. Doing arid zones agriculture that has to do with drylands, accommodating for the needs of the region. And of course, solar energy at the time, and now, as we moved forward, alternative energy of various kinds. So what at the time was accommodating for the Negev is now addressing major issues in the whole world. So in that regard, again, this is a research that is very, very relevant to the needs of the region, to the needs of the people. And this kind of research is being done in many, many faculties all over the university. I don't have the time to tell them all, but I really want to touch on one of them, nanotechnology, which is worldwide nowadays. But in Ben-Gurion University, it touches especially what we are expertising in: solar energy and water. So doing all kinds of state-of-the-art membranes to purify water by way of nanotechnology. Doing new photovoltaic cells by way of nanotechnology. And I really want to take this opportunity and to thank two families here in LA who generously supported nanotechnology in Ben-Gurion University, the Flinkman family and the Weiss family. Thank you very, very much. So when in Ben-Gurion University, when we research robotics, cyber tech, space, remote sensing, they are all related to homeland security. And nowadays, we are developing a center of homeland security, bringing together all these kinds of issues. And to my mind, this is going to be one of the most significant and important such endeavors in Israel, adding to it also other aspects of preparedness brought by a very, very talented group at the Faculty of Health Sciences. So medicine in Ben-Gurion University is also something very unique. It deals with the community, it deals with global medicine, and as I said, it deals with being prepared to crisis, either man-made or nature-made. Unfortunately, lately, we have to relate more to man-made such crises. And it gives me another opportunity to make a public announcement of a generous contribution by Mr. Larry Field, sitting right there. And Larry is actually going to fulfill a dream that we had for many, many years, and for many reasons we couldn't realize it. And the dream was to establish a center, a simulation center, that would help training students, physicians, and also army and civil personnel to deal with crises, with various types of crises, rescue personnel, etc. So we are going to establish the Field Family Foundation Medical Simulation Center, state-of-the-art facility that will further establish the very central and leading role that this School of Medicine has in medical training in Israel. Thank you very much, Larry. Ben-Gurion University is also the hub for Israel studies, for Jewish thought, for Hebrew literature. All of those are very, very strong fields in Ben-Gurion University and in Israel in general. But it is also unique because of other features. Ben-Gurion University is heavily involved in the community. And the sense of community and social responsibility is something which is very extremely central to the university, unlike other institutions of higher education in the world in general. So students and faculty alike are involved in work in the community. There are lots of projects being done by students in the community. Many students actually are coming to Ben-Gurion University because they want to get involved with projects in the community. And the way those projects in education, in welfare, in culture, in health and medicine, the way they impact the community is really tremendous. And they are going on now for 41 years. So all of the projects are continuous. This is nothing esoteric, nothing, that come and goes, but still stand there for many, many years. And the last thing I would want to mention with regard to the uniqueness of this university is the way the university as an institution is involved in facilitating all kinds of projects between the government and the private sector in order to push forward the economy and the development of the region, of the Negev. So the university is involved, again, in bringing together the government and private investors for various projects. One of them is the National Institute for Biotechnology in the Negev that was developed in this way, bringing private donor with the government and the university. Another one is a renewable energy consortium with people in the Arava, Eilat Eilot, together with private investors and the university as the research arm of the consortium. One very important project coming up now is the Advanced Technology Park adjacent to the university. And this is a joint project by the municipality of Be'er Sheva, by Ben-Gurion University, and by a developer, actually a company that its headquarters is right here in this city, KUD, and Marvin Swami is the CEO of this country, and thank you very much, Marvin, and Tom Winter as well, for supporting this huge, huge, huge project. It's going to bring many, many companies to the Negev and actually provide high-quality jobs in order to maintain students at graduate university and make them stay in the Negev, raise their families in the Negev, live in the Negev, and bring the Negev whatever we want it in terms of good demography. I want to mention some future projects that we are aiming at. And one of the projects that we are, again, serving as a facilitator is building the next civil airport in Israel, in Nevatim. I haven't talked to Danny Halutz. I don't know what's his idea about where to put this airport. There is a debate whether to do it in the north or the south. Nobody wants it in the north, and everybody wants it in the south, except for the Air Force. So we are now having some negotiations with the Air Force, and hopefully they will succumb to the idea that what we need is international airport in the south, in the Negev. Just imagine what this kind of an endeavor can bring to the Negev in terms of tourism, in terms of economy, in terms of commerce. It is going to have a huge impact, as will have the movement of the IDF, many of the IDF units, training units, but also high-quality elite units, movement to the Negev. This is a process that will go on for the next almost 10 years, but when it finishes, it will be one of the major moves to develop the Negev. So Ben-Gurion University was dreaming about developing the Negev, about making the Negev the desert bloom. I think Ben-Gurion University managed to really make the desert bloom. And I invite everybody of you to come over to visit the university and visit the Negev and see firsthand with your own eyes how much the Negev, how much the desert of Israel, 60% of the landmass, is much greener now due to and because of what Ben-Gurion University has done to this region. I always say, take Ben-Gurion University, put it 50 kilometers north to Be'er Sheva. It will be just another university. The mere persistence of the university in Be'er Sheva, in the Negev, really makes all the difference in the world, both for the Negev, but also for the world. I thank you very, very much for your attendance here. It is such a vote of confidence in Ben-Gurion University and in Israel. Thank you very much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on with the business of why we are here this evening. At this time, I'd like to call upon those who have the distinct privilege of paying tribute to our esteemed honorees. Robert Schwartz, a close friend of Judge Kaplan and a leading criminal defense attorney, and Alex Parsi, one of Nahid and Mansour Parsi's 4 sons, and an endodontic, I should have known how to pronounce it, dentist here in Los Angeles. So please, Robert Schwartz and Alex Parsi, please come on.
Good evening, everyone. You know what, Dr. Carmi, you have amazing passion. You could lead me on a march into the desert right now. I first met our honoree, Leon Kaplan, back in the early 1980s when I was a fairly new attorney. And I was assigned to his courtroom. I had never seen him, met him before. And I walk into this courtroom, and sitting on the bench in the black robes is a young man, appears to be no more than his mid-30s, with a beard. And I hear him address people in a very wise and thoughtful manner, and displaying a subtle sense of humor. And I thought there was a mistake that had been made. I thought initially that the judge who was supposed to be in that courtroom had traded places for one day with some guy who was a hip young rabbi. But there was no mistake, because Leon belonged there on the bench. And this is something that he proved over the next 3 decades as he served this community with great distinction, serving as a judge in the criminal courts, in the civil courts, and in the juvenile delinquency courts. And juvenile work has always been a matter of great passion and interest for Leon Kaplan. Throughout his life, Leon Kaplan has embraced the Judaic principle that we all have an obligation to make the world around us a better place. He demonstrated this in his life over and over again. As a young man, as a young attorney in San Francisco, Leon became involved in the neighborhood justice center and the juvenile justice center. And he helped develop a program that established guidelines for providing structure for at-risk youths. And as a result of his efforts, the officials in San Francisco acknowledge that his program resulted in a 50% drop in juvenile crime. In the course of those experiences, as well as time that he spent as a member of the California Youth Authority Parole Board. California Youth Authority is the juvenile equivalent of the California State Prison. He saw firsthand the fractured lives of those young men and women who came from fractured families. Cynics in those circumstances might have said, well, there's really nothing you can do. This is a situation that is beyond change, beyond repair. A prominent political theorist in the 19th century wrote that cynicism is the highest form of naivety. Leon Kaplan was never cynical, and he was never naive. He believed in action, and he took steps to do specific things to make this a better world. And of course, one of the many examples is his work with Ben-Gurion University, as he helped develop a program for the education of parental skills of parents of at-risk youth in the Beersheba and Negev region of Israel. And his work continues to this day. There are a lot of things about Leon that many people don't know. He's not a big self-promoter. He is very humble. He has accomplished a great deal that many people who have known him for years are unaware of. But I've done some investigation, and I'm going to tell you a few things that a lot of people don't know. While Leon was serving as a judge of the Los Angeles Superior Court, at the same time, he was studying to be a psychotherapist. He actually volunteered to provide free counseling services at a community clinic, and he would counsel people at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then he would go to work and serve the citizens of this community as a judge during the regular business hours of the court, and at night he would provide additional counseling. He, however, always was vigilant in maintaining that separation between his two professional lives, that as the counselor and as the judge. In fact, I can assure you that when Judge Kaplan used to invite attorneys into his chambers to discuss their cases, not once did he ever ask the attorneys to lay on the couch in his chambers to discuss their dreams about the outcome of the case that they had in his court. That seems to be an esoteric reaction here. All right, anyway, I want to tell you that here's someone that I have known now for 30 years, and I cannot tell you how honored I am to bring to the stage this evening's recipient of this wonderful award, Judge Leon Kaplan.
Protocol right now, but you know, let's do it, right? Okay. So here I'm pleased to present the Negev Award to Judge Leon S. Kaplan on behalf of American Associates Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, in recognition of his generous support and commitment to the children and families of Israel's Negev region.
Rivka, thank you, Bob. And on top of all of that, he knows how to smile for a photograph. Such a guy. Phil Gumpertz. Phil is the Western region on behalf of the university. And when he's not kveling with his grandchildren, he spends day and night working for the goals of the university. He's put this evening together, among many other things, and he's a good friend to many of us. So when Phil first approached me about this evening, and he told me about the Parsi family, their generosity, their achievements, I said, you know, you got their entire clan. What do you need me for? And then he said, Leon, tell you what, if you join us in this evening, you can speak for as long as you want to about anything you want to. provided that you don't speak for more than 3 hours. So this morning he said, no, Leon, I meant 3 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep it to that. What I want to tell you is when I first went to Beersheba, I was struck on the way to the beautiful university. If you're coming from the north to the south, on the right-hand side there is Shchuna Dalet. This is a series, it's a project that looks like an inner city wasteland. And it reminded me of areas in South Central Los Angeles, other poor areas where the conditions are just terrible for families, and they're terrible for young people trying to get on with their lives and join the mainstream of society. And it seemed to me this, for those of you who remember Yiddish, es passt sich nicht, ze lo matim, it's not right. So being an eternal optimist and a little bit foolish, I think I met anybody I possibly could. Rivka was good enough to receive me and not think I was Don Quixote or anything like that. And then they proceeded to introduce me to the head of the education department, the head of the psychology department, the head of social studies department, and even the head of the business school department, trying to explore what, if anything, could be done. After 3 trips, I finally was introduced to Professor Julie Swickel, who I hope we'll all hear a lot more about. And we explored what could be done. We can't solve the problems of the world, but maybe we can do something. And Julie suggested a 2-step approach. First of all, to convene a graduate-level seminar for master's students and doctoral students in the subject of parent training and education. Why parent training and education? Parents under stress often find it difficult to deal with child rearing. And Beersheba is not missing stress in any way whatsoever. 18% of the population in Beersheba is made up of not just immigrants, all of Israel is immigrants almost, but new immigrants. Among the new immigrants, 25% are single-parent families trying to adapt to a new culture. Most of them are from Russia and Ethiopia, trying to learn a new language. And those are not the only stresses that parents have to deal with. There's a question of personal security. Since August 18, 100 missiles have fallen in the southern region. In one night alone, 7 of them fell on Beersheba, killing a father who was going to visit his 9-month-old pregnant mother, and wounding 3 other people, 2 of whom were saved by a 17-year-old girl who somehow or other got it together to render first aid. They were astonished in the emergency room about how she was able to do that. Her answer was, well, I'm sure I'm not paraphrasing her correctly, but I had good parenting. When I was 12 years old, my dad gave me a book about rendering first aid, and she drew on that experience to be able to really engage in heroic action. By the way, Rivka gave her a full scholarship to the university, this hero. It's absolutely amazing. But not everybody can keep it together as this girl did. And it's not easy. 60 seconds to get to the shelter in your building, 45 seconds, 30 seconds. Many parents become panicked and deregulated. It's extremely important to afford these parents training on how they can regulate their own emotions so they don't lose it, their children don't become panicked, and then the parents can train the children in relatively simple techniques of emotional first aid. That's not the only thing that needs to be done in parent intervention. There are developmental issues in which often parents need training, educational issues where parents need training, and so forth. There are so many needs, and I wonder sometimes why privilege this particular subject matter of parent training and education. And as I was having doubts this morning about that, I thought, well, Rosh Hashanah is around the corner. And you will remember that in Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of time, we don't read in the Parshat HaShavua, the Bible portion for Rosh Hashanah about the creation of the world, the beginning of time. We read about the beginning of the family. And I was having this fantasy, what would have happened if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if the Lord would have sent some of his Malachei HaSharet, his angels of service, to the Abrahamic family for a little bit of parent training. Perhaps Hagar and Sarai would have gotten along a little bit better, and Ishmael wouldn't have had such intense sibling rivalry, so he wouldn't be metzacheking, messing around with Yitzchak. And you know, if such an intervention had taken place at the beginning, perhaps we wouldn't be in the pickle that we're in today. So it's very exciting that Julie has convened this seminar. It seems to be that the university is fully supportive of what I think is going to be a visionary program leading to the establishment of an interdepartmental degree at the PhD level, a doctorate programs and master's level programs in parent education and parent training, with an emphasis of training people at the highest level to go out into the community and provide this type of support individually and in groups to parents in crisis. So if anybody here has got nothing better to do and this rings a bell with them, I'd love to convene a committee. Please talk to me, talk to Phil, and maybe we can do something about it. Thank you so very, very much. I have to carry it too. Thank you.
Guests, friends, family, good evening. My name is Dr. Alex Parsi. I'm the youngest of 4 Parsi brothers. I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to my family. My eldest brother Shahab, my second eldest brother Shaheen, his son Matthew, and Sam is my closest brother, and his lovely wife Shireen, and they have 2 children. Eli and Layla, and my new beautiful bride, Donna. On behalf of our entire family, we thank you for attending this wonderful gala honoring my parents, Mansour and Nahid Parsi, and Judge Kaplan. A heartfelt congratulations to those being honored tonight for their past, present, and future contributions to Ben-Gurion University. While I personally think that raising 4 highly educated boys was the greatest achievement of my parents, we are here to celebrate Mansour and Nahid's philanthropic achievements with the Ben-Gurion University. Although my father is very fluent in English, my parents, being quite modest, have asked me to say a few words on their behalf. First and most importantly, Mansour and Nahid would like to recognize and thank our dear guests attending this joyful event. Further, we'd like to acknowledge a few notable guests of honor. Lieutenant General Danny Halutz, Professor Rivka Carmi, Rabbi David and Mrs. Pauline Chauffet, Rabbi David Wolpe, new Israeli Consul General David Siegel and Mrs. Siegel, Deputy Consul General for Israel Gil and Mrs. Viviana Arzieli, former Mayor of Beverly Hills and his wife Jimmy and Lonnie Delsha, Ambassador Mariano Costello, the Ambassador of Honduras to Mexico, and President of the American Iranian Jewish Federation, Mrs. Shahla Javdan, and lastly, Doren Krakow, Executive Vice President of the American Associates, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. In addition, my parents would also like to thank and acknowledge the generous contributions of friends and family and all those in attendance here tonight, as well as the contributions of some who are not here tonight. We extend you our heartfelt appreciation for all of your support. Our dear guests, my father's life has not been easy. His father passed away when he was a little over 2.5 years old. As the youngest child in a family of 7 children and only a mother to guide them, no real assets to rely on, my father created himself. He was born in a small city in Iran called Hamadan. At the age of 6, his first job was picking and sun-drying apricots in order to clothe himself for school. It is said that those who are given the least, brought up in the most austere environments, often accomplish the most in their lives. Writing this dedication, I cannot escape that my father's life path in many ways parallels the humble, tenuous, and unsure beginnings of Ben-Gurion's young state. But by overcoming adversity through unwavering courage and dedication, unfaltering self-belief, the highest sense of moral and ethics to guide him, he, like Israel, flourished, advanced, and prospered not once, but as we will see, twice. At the age of 15, after finishing his primary education in Hamadan, my father left for Tehran to pursue higher education. He aided in the war effort in the 1940s by helping in the transport of military and humanitarian relief to Russia from the United States and the United Kingdom. After the war, he created several companies which dealt with the export of commodities from Iran, culminating with a novel and innovative method for standardizing agricultural seeds for export. In a few years, my father's reputation had developed so much so that he had expanded into international commerce with the United States, Japan, Europe, and Israel. Many years later, during one of our trips together, he had told me of this great journey before his 25th birthday. He and a friend had dauntingly driven from Paris to Germany, then Turkey and Israel, and back to Iran in the acquisition of one of a young man's great possessions, an Opel Captain. Can you only imagine the road conditions at that time? My father had undertaken one of the greatest road trips one could imagine, during which he also had fallen in love with Israel. It was then that he started to invest in Israel. But by far the most memorable and personally relevant business my father created was an exclusive, technically cutting-edge electric supply partnership with Italian company Ticino. I remember visiting his very large and prominent showroom on Takht Jamshid. For me, each trip meant that I would see my father with the added bonus of going to the largest electric toy store. My earliest and most lucid childhood memories of my visits culminated with irritating, then annoying, aggravating, and eventually infuriating my father. In true fashion, to the curious, mischievous nature of a 5-year-old, I would play with every electrical switch, buzzer, doorbell, ringer, until the frenzied and confused employees would admonish me. It was not long after that we were exiled from Iran because of the 1979 revolution and the overthrow of the Shah of Iran. Israel extended out and accepted us as our first home away from home. In retrospect, through the eyes of a 7-year-old, I did not realize what my father had given up in 1979. All of the fortunes that he had amassed basically disappeared overnight. All of the hardships he had endured, bringing himself to financial prominence, were for nothing. As selfless and loyal as he was to his family, he bravely, courageously went back to Iran for months to recoup anything the government would allow in all the chaos that ensued the revolution. Years later, my father confided in me that he slept with an Uzi under his bed for fear of a very revengeful and anti-Semitic government. So how does this man being honored before you tonight embark on supporting the Ben-Gurion University? It is simply that he never lost the sense of where he came from, who he was, and where he was going. He gathered his sons and brought them to the United States, and in a matter of 30 years, he rebuilt some of his fortune, as if his early childhood wasn't challenging enough. Fate had deprived him of all of his life's hard work. He could have easily given up, become embittered, or been true to the protagonist of his favorite book that he read at 9, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. becoming a disenvisioned, bitter, revengeful, and hoarding wealth. Instead, my father has committed himself selflessly and is giving oath to support the Ben-Gurion University as long as he's capable, and has charged his sons to do the same. So you may ask why my father chose Ben-Gurion above all other philanthropic endeavors. In 1998, Mansour learned of a Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, a university in the middle of the desert, trying to do things that no one else was doing with very little resources. Students and faculty alike working very hard with very little support to accomplish great things for themselves and the state of Israel. My father immediately identified with this cause. And so he decided to voluntarily support Ben-Gurion University, and he has been doing so since 1988. Tonight we hope that you have enjoyed yourself and made great new friends with other fellow philanthropists. Ben-Gurion had long said that the Negev was a key to Israel's future. My father believes this to be true, as do many others in this room. The university has already created some of the greatest advancements in medicine and technology. Please show the courage and vision my father has shown and look into investing in Israel and with Ben-Gurion University. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your contributions and support. At this point, I would like to take a moment to honor and commemorate, to remember those that were lost in our country's great tragedy 10 years ago on this day. May their losses always remind us to never forget. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
I am delighted to present the David Ben-Gurion Award to Nahid and Mansour Parsi on behalf of American Associates, Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, in recognition of their generosity and dedication to supporting innovative research at Ben-Gurion University of the Negev.
Said everything on my behalf, and I wish that you enjoy this event, and please be sure that follow my way to help at Ben-Gurion University. Thank you for coming.
Chief of Staff of the Israeli Defense Forces and retired on 2007. I am married to the same wife, Irit, for the last 39 years. And we are raising 3 children. One of them continue my way, and he is a lieutenant colonel in the Israeli Air Force, and he is a squadron commander. And the other 2 are engineers. Ten years passed since the tragedy of September 11. The terror attack over the United States of America that caused thousands of victims, of innocent victims, that were murdered by the bin Laden, that, thanks God, was taken away 10 years later. Hope it would have done 11 years earlier. I would like to ask you to stand for a few seconds in memory of those victims. Please do. Please be seated. Those victims are not only United States victims, they are global victims. Another sign to the cost of terrorism and the obligation of the free world to fight terrorism. Because if we are not going to fight it now, we are going to pay high price later, and the price will go higher and higher. It was May 2001 when the siren caught me in the Israeli Air Force headquarters. I was the commander of the Air Force. And siren means that something wrong starts to happen. 3 minutes later, I was down in the command station, and I was told that an intruder is going to cross the Israeli airspace coming from Lebanon, and we don't know anything about him. We are tracking him. And I ordered to launch a pair of F-16 to escort this intruder. They found him crossing the border nearby Rosh Hanikra, is the northern point of Israel, along the seashore, along the Mediterranean. And the pilot reported to me that it's a light airplane with a single pilot, and I asked them to escort him and to see what's going on. The first thing that crossed my mind was Tel Aviv. I thought that unknown airplane, he's not identifying himself, not answering to the calls, to the radio calls, etc., means that he has something in his mind which is not according to our plans. The F-16 leader told me that he's flying too slow for F-16, and I ordered to launch a pair of Apache helicopter. And 15 minutes later, they escorted him along the seashore and reported on every single move of the pilot and the airplane. And such an event is a nightmare of any commander, because you are in a dilemma. Are you going to shoot an innocent airplane, or you are not going to shoot a hostile airplane? And to shoot down a light airplane, that's not something that we are happy to do on a daily basis, and only on very rare occasion we are doing those things. Anyhow, the first thing that crossed my mind was that someone wanted to suicide in the middle of Tel Aviv. And I asked General Mofaz, who was my commander, I was the chief of the Air Force, he was the chief of staff, to get approval from the Prime Minister. And when the approvals received, I told him that I'm going to shut him down once he's going to enter to the circle of 20 miles from Tel Aviv. And the approval was given. And when he came, he crossed the 20 miles line, I ordered to shut him down, and he was shut down by the Apache helicopter. It was May 2001. That was kind of routine of the Israeli Air Force to be ready against any unidentified aerial threat and to shoot him down. The first event happened in 1972. A Libyan passenger airplane was shot down. It was a mistake. And 162 civilians were killed on this case in 72. It was found as a mistake later, but it was a mistake. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We were discussing Air Force activities against the Palestinians on September 11, 2001, when one of my officers came to my office and told me that an airplane collided into one of the twins. I stopped the session, we went to the breaking news, and it was obvious. It's not a collision, it's a terror attack. I told this morning that one of the first conclusion, and it came day after the September 11, was to restructure the plans or replan the plans for the Israeli Air Force headquarters, and instead of 28 stories building, we reduced it to 18, just to reduce the signature of the building as a headquarter. September 11 changed the world. And I think that the outcomes of this terror attack are still valid, and it will take years to come to the conclusion that it's over, if it will over. I don't think that terror is going to vanish from the world. Terror is an everlasting phenomena, and as long as people live on earth, we will find terrorism in this way or another. And terrorism, it's not new to us, but ideological terrorism and fundamental Islam terrorism is relatively new to us. Relatively, not to those who have good memory, but relatively new to us. The Islamic Brotherhood was founded around 90 years ago, in 1920 in Egypt. And the target of those radical Muslim organizations is to control the world in a way, at least to convert us. And I believe that most of us don't want. Democracies has the right to survive, and democracies has to fight in order to survive. Because I think that the fight is not between terrorists and non-terrorists. The fight is between culture, religion, tradition, way of life. And if we want to keep our way of life, of freedom, of free market, of free society, the right to move, the right to express ourselves, etc., 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 we have to stand up and to fight back. And I think the state of Israel is doing it for the last 63 years of independence, and we are not tired of it, because the alternative doesn't exist. So we have to continue and do it until we'll achieve a status quo which is acceptable to us. And I think that the rest of the world should do it. And the rest of the world, I'm mainly speaking about the Western community. In the last few weeks, we saw some examples in the southern part of the country how few terrorists of the Islamic Jihad throw into shelters 1 million people in Israel. And Beersheba became the heart of the targets, and it caused one fatal and a few people who were injured. But most important, the opening of the summer semester was delayed. And the opening was done by incident. My daughter-in-law is a student in Beersheba University, and she told me we are going to Jerusalem for the opening day. Why? Because terror is trying to change our way of life, and we cannot accept it. 8 Israelis were murdered, were killed, and it opened a new window to a new front that was quiet in the last 30-something years, which is the Egyptian one. The peace with Egypt is a strategic asset to Israel, and the same is to Egypt. But no doubt that in the last few months, since Mubarak moved from his position, unwillingly, but he was forced to do it, something is going wrong there. I want to believe that the goal or the interest of the Egyptian is the same as the Israelis, so I believe. But no doubt that we have to watch, we have to keep an eye, and we have to help the Egyptian to help us to help them. It's a circle. And we should enable, as the government took a decision to do, to bring more forces, Egyptian forces, into Sinai Peninsula, to block some of their activities which are taking place over there. Egypt is important, but we saw yesterday what was the distance between happy hand and tragedy. And the distance was a door that was kept closed few minutes more than they wanted it to be closed. And I don't want to think what would have been the results if something would have gone very wrong in Cairo embassy, Israeli embassy. But the entire region is not stable. It's not only Egypt. We saw what's happening with the Turks. We saw what happened in Libya. We saw what happened in Tunisia. We saw what's going on we see what's going on in Syria. And we have the September 20, which is another September date to be remembered by us, at least, the Israelis, when the Palestinians are going to bring their resolution to the General Assembly in New York, UN General Assembly. This instability is not the right time to speak about hope and future, bright future, but I think that we must speak about it, because otherwise it's very easy to be pessimistic in the Middle East. And to be optimistic, you have to have a hope, and to find every single sign of light and magnify it in order to find solution. I believe that we should have an iron fist when we are addressing terrorism, but the same very hand should be handed to find peaceful solution. The question if there is other side to negotiate. This question must be asked, but we are obliged to look constantly for alternatives rather than military conflict, rather than using force. Because force by itself is not solving problem, it's freezing the situation at the most. It's not changing situation. It's not creating alternative, not political alternative. Beersheba University, or Ben-Gurion University, is the heart of the Negev. It's part of the vision of David Ben-Gurion, and no doubt that education, and high education mainly for Israel, is the most important thing. We have only one natural resources, which is the human factor, or the human being. Lately we found some gas fields in the Mediterranean, but gas come and go. The human being always stays. And we need them because we know what the Israeli brains brought to the world, what the Jewish brains brought to the world. And it's based mainly on education. High education, advanced education, sophisticated education, and education which is directed to the southern part of the country first, But more than that, it's directed to develop this part of the country, because education brings people, people bring industry, and highly educated people bring culture and bring transportation and bring everything. And no doubt that nowadays Ben-Gurion University is counted as one, I would say, one or two. There is a debate among the youngsters, but I think it's attractive university to the youngsters. And that's the biggest achievement, because I remember myself when I studied in Tel Aviv University, Ben-Gurion University was not exist, or started to educate. Nowadays, there is no question. When you want a good education, you are going there. And one thing that I want to say from my point of view is that Ben-Gurion University is integrating many newcomers into the academic life of Israel. And that's something which is very, very important regarding the integration of society. So any single penny which is invested in higher education pays high dividend, very high dividend, and we have many proof for that. The nature of wars, it changed. Those who are looking for knockout campaigns that will delete terrorism of earth are going to be frustrated. It won't happen. It takes more than 10 years in Afghanistan. It took us more than 5 years for the second intifada. It took us more than 5 years for the first intifada. And we stayed 18 years in Lebanon in the first round, etc., etc. Those campaigns are long, and there is no miracle. We need passion, we need a lot of air in our lungs in order to be able to cope with terrorism. I think that the Americans are doing the right things when they are fighting terrorism. I think that they are doing it, that they are learning step by step, mission by mission, operation by operation. And persistence that was shown in the chase after bin Laden, that's something that should be remembered as part or as a nucleus of fighting terrorism. We have to run after the leaders. We have to run after the leaders, and if the leaders passing away, the second row, and the third row, and the fourth row, one by one, they should feel personally that they are tracked day and night all over the year. That's the only way, because terrorism by itself has no property, has no land, has no country to lose. And they are paying the price by sacrificing their population. They are not paying personal price. The population that they are living in or within are paying the prices. We should terrorize terrorism. And we have to understand that, at least from my point of view, I have nothing against Islam and nothing against the Muslim religion. Many of my friends that are living in Israel, Israeli Arabs, a very good person. They are looking for peaceful life. They want to live. And many of the Muslims in the world are people who are looking for peaceful life. But they are a minority which is taking the Islam to corners or to points or to distances that the founders of this religion never meant. The Arab Spring, just few sentences. I think that too many are too excited from too little. I don't think that the Arab countries will be transformed into democracies. And if it will happen, it will take hundreds of years. It won't take months, not few years. because it's a matter of culture, education, tradition, tribes, etc., etc. And the fact is that 22 Arab countries, none of them is a democracy. And it's not by incident. So it won't happen very soon. It will take long time. So all those who are expecting that we'll see out of this spring democracies all over, I think they're going to be disappointed, to say the least. From the Israeli perspective, I think that we have now to wait and see how all those turbulences in the Middle East will end. That's not the time for us to run forward with peace agreement, with this and with that, and with number 3 and number 4, and there are a few on the line. We have to be ready to continue with the Syrians and Lebanese and all the rest once we'll understand that the turbulences are over, not now. With the Palestinians, a different issue, but that's something that will be clear to us very soon when we see where the whole world is shifting towards the Palestinians or not. I personally believe that on the September 20, we'll see a vast majority supporting the Palestinians, but nothing will happen the day after. We don't have to worry that the day after the sky will fall. The sun will continue to rise, and everything will continue as it was. But it's part of a process that in the end will lead them to a state. The two-state solution was declared. I don't think that we can withdraw from that. What we can is to adjust the solution that will fit our needs, our future needs, and our existence in Israel. Just to summarize, I would say that Israel must look for ways to solve the Palestinians or any other one who is ready to discuss with us in a peaceful way. Israel should be kept a Jewish and democratic state. I didn't elaborate about the Israeli internal demographic issues, but by saying Jewish and democratic state, we have to keep our country as a democratic and Jewish country. And third, we must reset our national priority list. That's an outcome of what we saw on the last few weeks in Israel, or last 2 months in Israel. Defense by itself cannot justify the imbalance in the Israeli society when the distance between the pillars is too big. And we have to adjust our structure, the society structure, and society balances, and mainly to support the middle and low classes. All those 3 topics connected to one root, which is resources. And resources are built on a strong economy. So, on top of all those, we have to continue to build our strong economy, and that's connecting us to Ben-Gurion University, to higher education, and to the area that we can contribute more to the Israeli economy, which is the high-tech community, the medical community, etc., etc., etc. Thank you, and I want to wish you and your families Shana Tova and good evening.
Thank you very much, General. This ends our program tonight, and I will thank everybody for coming and the family here that was so generous to the university. Thank you all. Hold it. Sorry, Ruth.
We have a lovely program of entertainment for you. Noah Dori is going to bring her band out and entertain us for a little while. So please stay and enjoy.
אדם נופל לפני שהוא שוקע, ותפילה קטנה חותכת הדממה. שמע ישראל אלוהי אתה כל יכול, נתת לי את חיי, נתת לי הכל. בעיניי דמעה, הלב בוכה בשקט, וכשהלב שותק, הנשמה זועקת. שמע ישראל אלוהי, עכשיו אני לבד. חזק אותי אלוהי, עשה שלא אבחר. הכאב גדול ואין לאן לברוח, עשה שיגמר, כי לא נותר בי כוח.
We'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight and be a part of this beautiful event. Thank you.